At the Film Noir Foundation, we have coined a term that's given us a lot of leeway: noir stained. And what that means, it means a lot of different things. It means somebody really likes it, but they think it really isn't quite noir, but they want to make a case to include it in the festival anyway. Or it means it's part noir, or semi-noir, or close to noir, or not quite noir. All of that is beside the point tonight, folks, because what you're going to be seeing is 100% pitch black film noir. The real thing is one of the bleakest, grimmest films ever made. Now, did you think you were coming for uplift, romanticism, and music? You obviously came to the wrong place. You know you were coming here to be miserable and downbeat, and you're going to get it in spades tonight. It's very strange that this absolutely pure film noir was produced by Samuel Goldwyn. Samuel Goldwyn didn't do film noir. He did the other kind of movie, or social dramas, or great literary adaptations. He didn't do this kind of film, and he didn't want to do it. It was his wife, at that point in his career, Frances Goldwyn, was taking much more charge of the Goldwyn Enterprises, and she read this novel in Galleys, The Edge of Doom, and being an ardent Catholic as she was, she insisted that Sam buy the book for filming. He didn't want to. She, at this point in her life, was very religious. Why she was drawn to this novel, which we'll talk about its attitude toward religion, is a bit problematic and strange, but she insisted that Goldwyn bought the film. He said, well, it will be a vehicle for my young star, Farley Granger. I have to be a little bit of a name dropper here. I did get to know Farley Granger quite well when I did a promotion on his memoir. And I could never get him to say a kind word about this film, about Mr. Goldwyn, or about anything he did with Goldwyn. He hated each of the films equally, but seemed to have a special animosity for Edge of Doom. And I told him, I kept telling him, and I wish you were here tonight because I would say it again, it's his finest performance. It is better than Stranger on a Train, and better, I think, than They Live by Night. He's incredibly intense and incredibly overwrought, and he drives the film. His intensity and power drive the film, as you will see. It's a great performance. He should have been proud of it. He wasn't. He always liked to say, in every interview I ever did with him, this film drove all of our careers to the edge of doom. He was wrong. It's a terrific film, as you'll see. We are very lucky people because tonight we have the single surviving cast member of this film, Joan Evans, who was discovered by Samuel Goldwyn after a national search. She was all of 14. He put her together with Farley Granger and Rosanna McCoy, and then again with Farley Granger in Our Very Own, and for a third time in Edge of Doom. Her part is small. It was much larger in the original version of the film, as it was indeed in the novel. But this film was so disastrous, it was withdrawn and reshot and reframed, and her part got smaller, but she has such a wonderful voice and presence that there's a character there, and there's an arc for that character, even with a relatively small part, and you'll want to see more, and you will hear more from her afterwards. Joan, please stand. Joan Evans. The film that you just saw is not exactly the film that was previewed. There were previews. Mr. Goldwyn was scared. He was afraid about the Catholic Legion of Decency, and one could understand why before they changed it. Was it partly that he was concerned about Catholic reaction, and partly to protect Farley as well?
I really don't think it was as much Catholic Church reaction as it was the fact that when the original version was previewed, Farley's character was far less sympathetic than the character you're seeing here. He murdered a priest. He was weird.
He did not have a girlfriend.
And he indeed, the Malik Powers character was not there at all. She was not in the book, she was not in the original version of the movie. I believe, well, I mean, it's what Mr. Goldwyn told us, so I would have to believe it. When you previewed a movie, word got out, and nobody was supposed to know, of course, that you were previewing a new movie or what the new movie was. It just said preview tonight, but word got out regardless. And Farley's fans, who were legion, came to the preview and were, as you can well imagine, absolutely horrified. Farley was the golden boy. He was the handsomest man on the screen at the time. He was 24 years old when we made this movie. I mean, every girl in the country was mad for Farley Granger, and every girl who came to the preview wrote. You had preview cards in those days, and they wrote what they thought of it. Well, you can imagine what they wrote. They were horrified, they hated it, they hated what they thought was being done to their hero. So, after the preview, we all were called together and told that half the movie was going to be scrapped, and we were, in effect, not starting over, but filling in the little pieces over. The Malapowers was added because the girls had to have Farley have a girlfriend. He had to kiss a girl in the movie.
But in the novel, the girlfriend was the mother.
Yes.
And you still get remnants of that his deepest connection was with the mother.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the girls in the audience,
Didn't want
Farley's
that.
fans, that wasn't exactly what they had in mind.
And is the frame story new as well? The priest, Dana Andrews, telling the story?
Yes, that was
That's new.
that whole narration that Dana did was all new. And again, the whole point was to make the character, to make Farley's character not such a bad guy, just really troubled.
But and also, I think because I've read the novel, and the novel ends up pretty much the same.
Yes.
Where at the end he finally does come to accept his faith.
Yeah. And that was why Mrs. Goldwyn.
That was why Mrs. Goldwyn wanted the story told.
Sure,
but
sure,
here
sure.
it's a little bit more emphasized that he sees God. And I think there's probably a battle between the pessimism of film noir and the redemption of that sort of religious conversion. So the film is fighting with itself a little bit.
Well, I think there's no question about that. And also, Mr. Goldwyn was the least, I hadn't thought of this until you used the word pessimism, but he was the least pessimistic of filmmakers. Mr. Goldwyn loved making movies. He loved the process. He loved the whole thing. He loved the whole thing about Hollywood. He loved being known as one of the beginners of the movie business. And he was a total optimist. He was not, all you have to do is look at most of his movies, and you see this essentially optimistic spirit that he had. I mean, he came from nowhere to be, after all, Samuel Goldwyn. He loved being Samuel Goldwyn, and he made a great contribution to the movie business.
And so this story about somebody who doesn't really seem to have any free will would not have been of any appeal to him.
Not at all. No, not at all.
Let's talk about your character. In the novel, she's very major, and she sort of parallels Farley's character. She's very mad at the church, and she never gets over it.
No.
But your character in the film seems to want to hang around there.
My character didn't change much in the changes that we made. My character just got dumped. Well, it did. I mean, it's ridiculous. You look at the credits, and I have the third credit for that. Originally, I read the book. I was 15 when we made this movie, and I read the book, and I thought, oh boy, a really grown-up part. Rosanna McCoy had been wonderful, but she was a hill girl, and she was grown up in certain ways, but she really was my age. Our very own, I was a kid and played a kid, and I read the book, and I knew Mr. Goldwyn was going to buy it. I knew Francis Goldwyn wanted him to buy it, and I thought, oh boy, and I get to wear a suit, you know, and look like a grown-up.
And you do.
And I do.
You do look like
Yeah,
a grown-up,
and
very
I do.
poised, and that cross that you make to the window, wonderful walk, which I noticed you have here in the real world, too. But your character is interesting. I want to see more of her.
Well,
Because
you
she's a
did
rebel.
originally.
You did originally. She's a rebel.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's really angry with her uncle. But in the film, she changes.
In the film, she just goes away.
Yeah.
You really don't see what happens. I mean, she's gone. She's gone. All the other stuff is taking precedence for two reasons: to save Farley Granger, and I don't mean that against Farley. I just mean to save, from Mr. Goldwyn's point of view, to save Farley Granger, and to make a movie that he prayed to God would make money.
And it didn't.
And it didn't.
It didn't.
This version didn't either. Yeah.
Now, was Mark Robson a good director?
Yes, and the only reason that I hesitate is because Mark Robson, at least for me, now I don't know about other people who worked with him, Mark Robson's focus in this movie, and you could certainly see all of it, and the skill that this man had, but Mark's focus was technical. He was making that kind of movie. He needed it to look like that kind of movie. And he did. He did an incredible, I mean, watching it tonight, I realized the skill.
It's beautifully shot,
Wow.
beautifully composed.
Oh, is it ever? And the lighting and the things that he did, which frankly at the time, I mean, I didn't have enough experience really to know, even when I saw it the first time, I really didn't know what skill that took. Mark's skill was in making the movie look like that. And he had very capable actors who did a wonderful job, and he let them do their job. I mean, Paul Stewart was terrific. Bob Keith, who was among the nicest men who ever lived.
Who was the mean Mandel.
Who was absolutely wonderful. I was very fond of Bob Keith. I don't know why particularly, but he was a darling man. Dana was an extraordinarily nice man. And I think, I really think Mark, for the most part, with the possible exception of Farley, left everybody pretty much on his or her own.
So you would say he wasn't, at that point, an actor's director?
I didn't think so. And seeing this movie, I realized what kind of director he was. I mean, when you look at the look of this thing, it's really something.